Shalom Aleichem. I want to share a beautiful idea that is really related to Kiddush, but really can be extended to really the entire Seder. It can be shared at any point in your Seder. The reason is because the Rambam writes that there are three mitzvos that are derabanan, where the reason is that we have this mitzvah is mishum persume nisa. The reason we have it is to publicize a miracle. The most famous of them, the most well-known, is the mitzvah of Ner Chanukah, that we want to share, we want to be mefarsim, to publicize the miracle of the candles and the story of Chanukah. So therefore, that is the mitzvah of Ner Chanukah is a mitzvah of the Rabbanan, and we do it at certain times, certain places in our home, in order to publicize the great miracles of Chanukah. Secondly, we have a mitzvah we performed a couple of days ago, the mitzvah of Mikra Megillah, that we tell the story, we read the story in Shul, Berovam, we try to have a large gathering, and we want to be mefarsim, we want to publicize the miracle of the Purim story. The last mitzvah that the Rambam tells us, that is Mishum Persume Nisa, to publicize a miracle, is the mitzvah of Daled Kosos, is the mitzvah of the 4 cups of wine or grape juice that we drink at the Seder. Now, interestingly, how is it that these 4 cups publicize a miracle? I'm just drinking the cups. Interestingly, there are 4 mitzvos hadibur of the night. There are 4 mitzvos that specifically have to do with speaking, right? That's Kiddush. The first cup is Kiddush. The second cup is Magid. I'm telling over the story of slavery to freedom. The third mitzvah is Birkas Hamazon. I have to bench. And then the fourth is Hallel, and there is a cup associated. First cup, second cup, third cup, fourth cup. All the cups are associated with a mitzvah of dibur, a mitzvah of speech at the Seder. What I want to share with you is a beautiful thought from the Nitziv. The Nitziv of Naftali Tzvi Yehuda Berlin was a Rav in Volozhin. He was the last of the great of the Rosh Yeshiva of Volozhin. He says an amazing thing. We know that the 4 cups, as is commonly taught, is based on the Arba Lishonos of Geula, the 4 different languages, the 4 different words, or almost synonyms that tell us about the Geula, about the redemption. V'hotzeti, v'hitzalti, v'ga'alti, and v'lakachti. And if you look at the beginning of Parshas Ve'era, we have all of those words. And what's beautiful about the Netziv is that he reads this idea, he reads it and he sees that they're embedded in the Psukim. V'chen emor levnei Yisrael. You should tell, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling Moshe Rabbeinu, speak to Bnei Yisrael and tell them, Ani Hashem, I am God. V'hotzeti eschem eretz Mitzrayim, mitachat sivlot Mitzrayim. I'm going to take them out, mitachat sivlot Mitzrayim, from the burdens of Mitzrayim, and then v'hitzalti eschem me'avodasam, and then I'm going to save them from their enslavement. V'ga'alti eschem bezroa nituya v'shvatim gedolim, and then I'm going to extract them. I'm going to save them, take them out bezroa nituya, with my outstretched hand and with my wondrous signs. I'm going to take them out. And lastly, in Pasuk Zayin, v'lakachti eschem li la'am, and I will take them for myself as a nation. So the Nitziv wants to know, why do we have 4 cups? It's 4 cups for this one, just because there are these 4 synonyms in the beginning of Parshas Ve'era. What is it supposed to tell me? If God saved us, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu took us out of Mitzrayim, so let's just drink 1 big cup. Why do I need these 4 different kosos? So the Netziv posits that the 4 cups are for the 4 different levels, and steps in the Geula process. And what's amazing is that he reads it all in through the Psukim. The first phrase, the first word is Ve'otzeti. The first cup of wine that we drink is keneged the word Ve'otzeti, that God took us out. Ve'otzeti eschem mitachat sivlot Mitzrayim, the burdens of Mitzrayim. And then Netziv writes that after the Makkah of Arov, after the 4th of the Makkos, we were done doing backbreaking labor. We were still slaves. We were still being subjugated by Paro and the Mitzrayim. We didn't have freedom, but once Arov ended, once the plague of the wild animals running around and scaring us, once that ended, Paro laid off, and he backed off us a little bit. He did not make us do backbreaking labor as well. How does the Nitziv see that? He sees it because at the end of the Makkah of Barar, it says that Vayachbed Paro es libo, he hardened his heart, Gam b'pamazos, this time also, and then the pasuk adds the phrase Velo shilach es ha'am, but he did not send the nation out. He did not send them out to go. So the Netziv writes, if he didn't send them, it must mean that something happened. For example, so a kid gets sent to the principal's office, and the kid says, you know what? The principal says, you're in big trouble. I'm not going to expel you, or I'm not going to suspend you. Does that mean there's no trouble? No, I'm not going to expel you, but you're going to get this. I'm not going to suspend you, but you're going to get something. So the Nitziv reads, "Velo shilachas ha'am." Paro refused to send out Am Yisrael, but he did ease up on something. What did he ease up on? So the Nitziv explains that they were not considered to be. They did not have to do backbreaking labor anymore. That is the first cup and the first step in the Geula process. The second step is he saved them from their avdus, from their slavery. The Nitziv writes there that at the end of Bara, at the last pasuk of Parshas Ve'era, after the seventh plague of Bara, it says Vayachazek leiv Paro v'lo shilach es bnei Yisrael. Once again, we have the phrase that he did not send out the bnei Yisrael. So what happened here? I didn't send them out, but something happened. What happened now? They haven't been doing backbreaking labor for the last 3 makos. What happened? It is V'itzalti eschem. They weren't called slaves anymore. Now their life didn't get better, right? I like to explain. Similarly, right, when Lincoln freed the slaves with the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, so what happened? They were freed, but they were still unfortunately, more than second class citizens. They were still nothing. They weren't called slaves, but they definitely weren't free. So this name or this designation of slaves ended after Barad. Where does the Nitziv see that? He sees that in the phrase Velo shilach es ha'am. Then you go back to the Psukim. The next pasuk is the actual us leaving and exiting Egypt. Of the God took us out. He took Am Yisrael, he took Bnei Yisrael out, and he put us in, or we left. We exited and we left. We went into the Midbar. Finally, when did we become the nation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? We became the nation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu at Kabbalas Torah, at Har Sinai, when we accepted the Torah on Mount Sinai. That's when we became the really HaKadosh Baruch Hu's precious and cherished nation. And to add on to this Dvar Torah, so you see that there are 4 levels. First was the backbreaking labor. That's Votesiaschem mitachas sivlot Mitzrayim. Then the second is that we're not slaves anymore. Then there's actual physical redemption, physical salvation of us actually Yitzias Mitzrayim, leaving Mitzrayim. And then the next level is when we became the nation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And to close, I want to close with the Mei Shiloach. The Ishbitzer Rabbi explains beautifully. We all have a minhag. Obviously, on our Seder plate, we have an egg. We have an egg, but that's Zecher to the Korban Chagiga, a special Korban that was given on the festivals. But many also have the minhag to eat an egg. To eat an egg at the Seder. Why? So there are many explanations that are given, but the Mei Shiloach, the Ishbitzer Rebbe, gives a beautiful explanation, that being that the birthing process of a chicken, of birds, right? Of a bird, is that there's a 2-step process. First, the egg is laid, and then the egg is hatched. So too with Klal Yisrael. First, there was our Yitzias Mitzrayim, and then second was Kabbalas HaTorah. And those 2 things are linked. Our salvation from Egypt, our leaving Egypt, and then getting the Torah, those are not 2 separate holidays. There's one holiday. We know Pesach and Shavuos are connected through Sfiras HaOmer. Why? Because you can't have one without the other. It wasn't enough, even though, obviously we say in Dayenu, but really ultimately in the totality of the Jewish experience and what we need and what we want and who we are is really defined not only by Yitzias Mitzrayim, but in addition it's defined by our receiving of the Torah on Har Sinai. Have a wonderful, wonderful Yontif.